Preserving vegetables and fruits has become quite popular recently, but certain foods have to be preserved a special way. Luckily, I have our food preservation expert, Luann Duncan, Family and Consumer Sciences agent, here to demonstrate a method called pressure canning. Welcome, Luann.
Thank you.
Tell me, certain of our fruits and vegetables can't be canned just in a water bath or preserved in a water bath. And so we have to use something special?
Right, we use the pressure canner, and usually the best way to explain this is I tell people we boil water at 212 degrees. That's the temperature. No matter how long we boil water, that temperature is never going to go up. But to kill certain bacteria, we have to get to 240 degrees, so we have to do it under pressure. Steam under pressure will go to 240 degrees when we use 10 pounds pressure. So we have to use a pressure canner.
So all our jams and jellies and even tomatoes they can be water bathed, but what kind of fruits and vegetables have to be preserved this way?
Most of your fruits have enough acid, and if it has enough sugar, or if we pickle something and it has enough vinegar in it, we have the acid level we need or the sugar level we need, it can go into the water bath canner. Everything else that is a low acid food, or a high pH, like all of our garden vegetables, if we're just going to do them in water without the vinegar, they have to be done in a pressure canner.
And even meats and combination products have to be pressure canned.
Definitely your meats.
Like soups, and if you're making a soup and preserving it too.
Definitely.
Well, these look great. Tell me a little bit more about the pressure canner itself. So we're canning under pressure?
Right, we're putting it under pressure. So because of that, it's a little bit different than just a big pot. We have a weighted gauge or we have a dial gauge. Now, if you have a dial gauge, it has to be tested every year, just because when you move it and bump it, this is a little bit bigger than a typical gauge. This is my tester gauge because I do the testing at the extension office, but it does show the 5, 10, 15. You don't want to go over 20 pounds pressure, but this is the gauge, and you know exactly how many pounds you're pressure canning at, and that can be a benefit to some people. Otherwise, but in Ohio, when we had the Amish, you called these the jigglers because you put them on and they rock or they make little noises. Now, what's nice about these is they are 5, 10, or 15 pounds. They come apart like this, and then this is a 10 pounds. You put it on, and when that starts to rock, this regulates it to maintain. So if it's rocking really fast, it's still maintaining 10 pounds pressure, but you just know that it's getting hot, and it's time to turn it down a little bit. It also maintains pressure by the ring on the inside.
That's
and
the
sometimes,
gasket.
yep, and this one's a little snug. Sometimes it's best not to store it into the lid, but you want to make sure that it holds the steam in, because sometimes you'll lose pressure and steam from this not being tight enough.
The tool, the pressure canner, it's very important to have that checked, that the pressure's right and that the gasket's in good, you're having a good seal still.
Yes. If you're new at it and you're not really comfortable, ask me and I'll be happy to answer questions. If it's new and it's a weighted gauge, these don't have to be tested, because this is good for life. It's calibrated and it's fine as long as you haven't dropped it, chipped it, or broken it. The only thing that you would have to check then is rubber rings. There are very old-time canners that you can still use that don't have any rubber rings. They're metal to metal, and that's fine. Some of them have little different features to look at. This one, for example, did pop up there for a second. When it's under pressure, that pops up. And then when the pressure's down, you know it's okay to open the lid. We never open the lid while it's still under pressure. When a sudden change in pressure will cause the contents of your jar to vacuum out of the jar, and then you have to start over, and most of it's probably in the water and you can't use it.
And really, it's just like using a cooker at home. I mean, there is an ability of it to, it's scary because it can blow, you know, and if you ever had that happen, it's a pretty big mess. You know, it might not be so much with the canning items.
They can be dangerous, but if you use caution, just like cooking anything on the stove, you have to stay there with it. You have to watch it. And as long as you know what you're doing, and if you need to learn that, call me, and you can have success with this. If it's done accurately, it's good for life until you eat it. We suggest you eat it within the first year to maintain quality and nutritional value. Otherwise, though, you can open it and eat it right out of the can if you've done it correctly. And so if there's a power outage and you need food, you just open your jar.
Your own freshly preserved canned food.
Yes.
Luann Duncan, Family Consumer Sciences agent, thank you for all your information today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Keep your preserved foods safe. Make certain that foods that need to be pressure canned are preserved correctly.